your thumb is in charge. How? When you're looking at your mobile, who's scrolling things? When you hold the remote control, who's in charge of it? So literally, your thumb is in control. And your thumb is connected with your brain. This is how I understand it, okay?
Sure.
That's not scientific, that's my own interpretation.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're blessed to have plenty of options. You don't want to listen to biased or sad or bloody news. That's your choice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the AUD podcast channel. We have a very special guest with us today that we're so excited to have, Dr. Caroline Faraj. Dr. Caroline, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. So, Dr. Caroline, few people we have on the show have resumes like yours. As everyone knows, you are the VP of CNN and the Arabic editor-in-chief. You're actually the one who even came to the region and launched this back in 2001. And over the past, 30 years of your experience in the field, I think you have a very nuanced perspective, not only on the region, but on journalism and media as a whole. So for today's conversation, I kind of wanted to dive into how has journalism changed, what is the media landscape coming, and dive into a couple more things about your personal experience. But before we get into everything, Dr. Caroline, why don't you give all of us a little bit of background about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
First of all, thank you very much, and thank you for doing the homework to dig deep and find out some more information about me. I'm a Jordanian, half Jordanian, half Egyptian, and married to a German. And
quite a mix there.
Yeah, I'm working for an American company, so see the mix.
Yeah.
And living in the UAE, which is also another blessing. I was raised in Jordan, and then I got my undergrads in Jordan in journalism, and then I went to London to get my master's. And in between also, I was getting also some other intensive courses in the US and other places. So learning has been a goal, and I'm still doing it. So no matter how old are you, and I know that I'm 25 and holding, and I'm going to grow up,
of course.
But I will keep learning, and you don't need to go to the university to learn. You can always learn even from people. So that's my starting point with you.
I love that. I actually believe, through my experience with my own podcast and through the show, I believe you learn the most from speaking to people. I've been blessed to have conversations with some incredible people like yourself who have broadened my horizon, not just on myself, but on life, work, relationships, love, the universe, and all that in between. But we'll come back to that a little bit later.
But it takes two to tango. So
Absolutely.
both of us are learning from each other. I'm also learning from you.
So that's a win-win. I like it.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to start today, Dr. Caroline, kind of take you back a little bit to, because as the VP of CNN and Arabic editor-in-chief, I feel like there's quite a weight of responsibility that comes with that. So I'd like to understand from you, first of all, throughout your career, I know there must have been very challenging times where you had to report on things that might not have been the easiest to do so, or deliver some unfortunately devastating news. So I'd love to hear from you first. How have you managed the weight of that responsibility?
Well, first of all, if I don't have the passion, I don't think I'll be able to do anything. Not only journalism, anything. I started by listening carefully, and this is how I started when I was a kid. I was listening, but at the same time asking questions. And I kept listening and asking questions. And when you deal with people not as a target or a source only, but as humans, you will always feel everything, all the passion and everything, all the feelings that these people are trying to reflect in a way, or sometimes even hiding, not even reflecting. But whatever job you do, if you're not passionate, and also if you take it as a job, not as a passion, that is the big question mark that you have to ask yourself. So from the beginning, yes, it wasn't easy to start as a journalist and also to cover the Arab-Israeli conflict, to travel. It was a tough time, and also to stay all the time out. It's not easy on a social level or professional level or all levels, if you like. But when you get the support from home, which is very important, and you keep looking, like you have a clear goal that you would like to achieve, which is truth, credibility, and you want to achieve that, then you keep looking at the right place and at the right direction, and then you keep moving. Now, I have to be also very transparent with you. Sometimes when you keep looking at these things, you find yourself that you miss some side things or important things. Both of them are also important. So one of them is sometimes like you miss some important dates that you have to be with friends and families and others. But at the same time, you also look at what you've achieved. And that is another thing that I learned from life, that I always tell people that you don't keep running. You should learn how to walk before you run. And also, every step you walk, after a while, stop, evaluate, and then look towards the second step, and then move forward.
Yeah.
So that is something that actually kept me walking. And the devastating pictures and videos and stories, we're living it every day. Look around now.
Yeah.
And if you come to my office, you will see many screens in front of me, and unfortunately, none of them is bringing a happy story.
Yeah.
But you have to live this yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to achieve something that basically support others or be good to others.
Yeah.
And of course, the first thing is to respect yourself, respect the brand that you work for, and also the passion that is coming under a profession.
Yeah.
And of course, the people that are your audience, all of them are on the same level. I cannot say one is more important. 4 of them are very important. So the more you do this, the more you will learn that this is something I have to do it, and I have to do it right. And you cannot just do halfway and then change your mind. If you don't feel that you're qualified or you're able to do it, or your emotions are not really supporting, you need to stop, because that would actually affect you, and it will push you down, and that's not what you want. So I was able to do that. Also, I have to say thanks to every mentor, every person was kind enough to hold my hand and take me from one step to another, and I'm still very blessed until now, finding people who are supporting me.
Yeah. I think you made a great point there that I think happens to a lot of us in life, is we keep running without taking a second to stop, reflect, and think about what direction are we actually running in.
True.
And on your point about the passion, I actually had a journalist on my show a couple of years ago who also worked at CNN. Her name was Sarah Tamimi. Shout out Sarah if you're watching. And she told
Sarah Tamimi was actually one of my interns and my staff.
Really? Yeah. So I had Sarah on the show,
Yeah.
and she was the first person I sat down with and had a conversation about journalism. And something she said was, Khaled, when it comes to journalism, once you lose the passion and start looking at it as a job, you shouldn't be in that field anymore, because you will lose that credibility that you need to deliver what you need to deliver. What are your thoughts on that?
It's not only the credibility. This is 100% accurate. It's you lose the respect to yourself. Because
and you touched on that. Sorry to interrupt. You just touched on that earlier. So when you talk about respecting yourself, what do you mean by that?
I have to be at peace with myself, and I have to be convinced of what I'm doing. And if I felt that I'm forced to do something that I'm not really feeling or believing that this is right, then I shouldn't be doing it, no matter what. So that's why I believe that you have to be at peace with yourself, and you have to respect yourself. Like anything you do, at the end of the day, it's my name and my career and my reputation. So no matter what, if I believe in it and I'm happy to fight and continue, then I have to continue. But as you said rightly, if you deal with journalism as a job, then you start at 8 and you finish at 5 and you say thank you. I cannot say thank you. It's something that I live it. So it's a passion that you agreed to have it as a partner living with you all the time. And this is something by choice. It's not by force. So if somebody is telling you, no, this is a passion, it has to be like this, it cannot work like this.
Yeah.
It has to come from within. So if you believe in it and you're willing sometimes to do a sacrifice, but at the same time enjoy the winning, enjoy the relationship, enjoy the success of stories that basically played a vital role in the lives of many.
Of course.
That is when you are enjoying what you're doing. And that's my enjoyment, and that's what I can celebrate.
It sounds like to me that although you had to have, like you correctly said earlier, made sacrifices, missed, maybe important dates, time with family and friends, the fulfillment you get from doing your job and delivering the truth in the best way to educate not just yourself, but us and the world around us, makes it all worth it.
Absolutely, but I want you to delete job and make sure that it's a passion. It's not a job.
Yeah.
And actually, as you said as well, that I'm teaching myself. I'm learning first, because if I don't learn, and I just preach on others, then that's not really the right message or the right mission.
True, and since this is a profession that really does require a passion. I know over the past few years you've trained over hundreds of young journalists and stuff when it comes to storytelling and so on. And given your experience, so let's say I'm a fresh journalism student and I graduated and I came to work for you. Could you tell very quickly whether I had the passion for it or not?
Absolutely. From the first time I see you.
Really? Could you tell? Okay, what would you be looking for?
I cannot give you my secrets, but no, I'll tell you what. There's a difference between somebody who's applying for a job and waiting for somebody to call him back, or somebody who's following up. Following up is vital. Now, don't be a nagger, but just follow up. But at the same time, how much you prepared for the interview, how much when you're coming for an interview, how much you've done your homework, prepared. Being tense is normal. It's human beings. Many people are tense.
Of course.
But that's not my judgment. And that's why whenever I meet people for hire or anything, I tell them, well, I saw your CV, but I'm putting it on the side. Now tell me about yourself. And when you tell me about yourself, sometimes people, they focus on the degree or the knowledge they got, but that's not what journalism is. If you're not a human being who respects other human beings, then you're not a journalist. So you need to show me how passionate you are towards human interest stories. Even if we're dealing with political stories, you also have the chance to cover human interest stories. So this is the angle that I look deep in the person that I'm interviewing whenever I'm hiring people. And to be very frank, now I'm very happy that I am witnessing this passion and this willingness to learn and this willingness to really reflect the stories of the human beings who are really in need for a platform to have to respect to reflect their point of views, and the journalists also to deal with it with respect because of the young generation. Young generation now are amazing. The young generation are full of energy. Also, they're so blessed with the technology that they have.
True.
So you can now see how important the social media is and how your role in this podcast and others. So all of these things, we didn't really have them before. So now it is also showing you some talents, and it's also reflecting new ways of reaching out to the people, reaching out to the sources, to the contacts, and reaching out also to the people to tell a new story, a new style of stories. So that is something I look for. And I also, finally, when I sit with young people who actually the majority of my team are, actually they're interns, they come as interns and then we hire them, and we have plenty of them from this university. The first thing I say, well, I want you to come up with some ideas that you can own. And I'm here to support you, but I'm not going to do your job. You will be doing your own stories, your own videos, whatever you want to do, but I want you to own your ideas. And then after 3 months, we can discuss together whether you would like to continue or not. If yes, tell me why, and if no, tell me why. But it's your idea, in your name, and you are taking the full responsibility. So it's a responsibility because you train the young people to be not having the authority only, because there's no authority without responsibility.
I love that last point. Is we have to clip that, guys, because. I remember I watched your TED Talk, and you talked about the importance of when it comes to storytelling and owning your story, and no one can tell your story better than you can. But coming on to the young generation, I know you've trained a lot over the years. What I'd like to hear from you is, I know how you have trained them. I would love to hear from you what's the impact that you've had by going through that experience that they've had on you.
Oh. Do you have another 24 hours? Because I need lots of... I'm learning in every minute. I'm learning now from the way you're addressing the questions, the way you're really really being in charge of this podcast. You have to be prepared to learn.
Yeah.
No matter how old are you, no matter how important you are, if you are whatever, the life is a learning process.
Absolutely.
And you will never stop learning. So, and every time, like whenever we do training, and it's not only me, I also have an amazing team who's training with me as well. When we train storytelling, for example, and we ask them to tell us their stories, when they tell you the story at the end of the training, after they take some of the techniques that we're trying to help them do, but the story is theirs. And then listen to them, and you see the tears in the eyes of the people who are listening. Oh my God, you would learn 20, 30 years of work sometimes if you deal with it as work, and you cannot do that. But if you are very in a transparent situation, and you are at peace as well with yourself, and you're telling your own story, you can move mountains. So this is something that you will learn. The way I look at them and I listen to them, how they're doing it, sometimes with passion, sometimes with tears, sometimes with tension. All of these emotions are, for me, I consider it as like another PhD, another thing that I'm learning every day. And of course, learning is not only there. And when I go and I see them sometimes at work, and I see how they are developing and growing in their own business, and I feel proud that, that when they mention, very kind, and they mentioned to me that, the training that they took, the storytelling that they took also changed their lives and stuff, and how they're growing, that makes me also happy and satisfied, and also get more energy that I need to do more. And that's amazing, So now it's a learning process every minute.
Yeah.
And meeting people is great. And this is how I travel, for example. I travel these days more often because now I have amazing team who can run, and I can only look from a distance. When you travel, it's not sitting in a 5-star hotel. Travel is walking in the streets and meeting people, real people.
Yeah.
Not the people that you only meet in the hotels. So that is something I learned also from my grandfather. He was always telling me, when you travel, even for work, I'm always traveling for work most of the time, he was always telling me, when you finish your work, put on your jeans, go down and walk in the streets where the real people are.
Yeah.
And that's where you can learn about the country. You cannot learn about the country from only visiting the touristic areas.
Yeah. So listening to you and the research I've done...
You've done a lot of research.
Thank you, I try. I know your grandfather played a very big role in your life.
Both of them.
And was kind of the inspiration for, the passion and the career that you ended up going down. I know at the time you used to sit on the heads of all the tribal meetings, since you were the eldest of the family and so on. And I know, as we were talking just now off camera, you traveled also around the world with the late King Hussein as well, and met, world leaders and so on. Now, I heard this story once, and I know listening is something that is very important to you. As you said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we talk. Mm-hmm. And I heard this story once, I think it was on a podcast, that there was this African tribe, and they were talking about how the head of the tribe, when they had a meeting, would be always the person to speak last. And I was like, and at the time it seemed counterintuitive to me, because I'm like, you would assume as he's the head, so everyone should be quiet and we should listen to him. But what I learned from that was he stays quiet so that he can hear everyone's perspective, and then he can take kind of what you said, like walking the streets, getting the feel of what everyone's going through or thinking about, and then come to his conclusion by himself. So I'd love to hear from you, your experience with your grandfather sitting on those things, traveling with the late King Hussein. What have you learned about leadership, and how have you taken that into your role over the past 30 years?
You're bringing really amazing memories. I was blessed with my 2 grandparents. One of them, the Jordanian part, and as you said rightly, he was the head of our tribe or our family. And it wasn't only in Africa. He was doing the same thing as well when he sits with our family, because I remember my dad's cousins and others used to come to him and seek his advice, and he used to say, okay, let me listen to all of you. And whenever there's one party is coming, he would always ask them, I need to listen to the 2 parties together at the same time. So that's something that I learned, that if I'm going to solve something, or be a mediator, if I may call myself, I have to listen to two parties in front of each other. So he was a very good listener. I learned from him, but he's also the one who said to the other heads of tribes that you have to answer her question.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as I told, I don't know if you heard it as well in some of my interviews, that my other grandfather, the Egyptian one, any time I used to ask him a question, he used to tell me, let me tell you a story. And he will tell me a story. And then he will say, and what did you understand from the story? So all of these things are based on listening and then stating what you've understood from it. So it's true that, when you travel with these, also with late King Hussein, I was so blessed to travel with him, attend some closed-door meetings and listen to him. He was also a very good listener. But at the same time, he was a human being.
Yeah.
So he can get also like sad or happy in both cases. But at the same time, his emotions were actually related to those that he's listening to, or he's not really bringing the people to shout at them. He's bringing the people to listen to them. And then when they ask for advice, he will say it. So that is something I learned as well, that, don't volunteer to give advice to people. You should, if they ask you for it, then you can do it. So that's another lesson. But, I'm also meeting lots of amazing people, young and old, and I'm also learning from them. This is something that is amazing. This is what life is. So listening, I think, was one of the most important, if you like, important thing for any leader to do. So to listen and not to immediately volunteer in giving advice. You should really wait for them to seek your advice and listen to both sides at the same time. And believe that you will keep learning as well. The more you listen to people, the more you will learn. Sometimes you might find yourself that I'm not able to find a solution for it, but you have to admit. You cannot just say, okay, I'll handle it if you cannot handle it. So that is another thing that I learned from them, and I'm still learning as well.
No, absolutely. And on the listening point, you can read any book on communication. Everyone talks about the importance of active listening and, looking at body language and looking at all these things. I think it's great to say that, and I do agree with it. However, what I would like to ask from you are, what are some tactical things that we can start doing, anyone listening to this, myself included, as people, to become better listeners? Because I think a lot of times we come into conversations, depending on what we're talking about, to say we don't have our own biases and agenda in our mind of what we want the outcome to be of that conversation, I think would be hard to say. Mm-hmm. So how can I start to put my personal biases, to the side, and let me listen to see if it confirms that or that changes that? What are some tactical things we can start doing, or techniques that we can do to start becoming better listeners?
First of all, you have to admit yourself that you have this issue that I would like to change. Because the decision of any change should come from within. You cannot, as I said, you cannot be forced to do it. You have to take it as a choice. You chose to do it because you believe that you have it and you would like to change. And be also ready for the change. So that's important, because it depends on you as a case. But of course, I'm not talking about you in general. But sure. At the same time, it's important as well to take it not as a learning process only, as a lifestyle, because it's like when you go to the gym, but you have to also to believe in what you're saying, and you have to be able to listen to others, and it comes by practice. It doesn't come like you take this tool and then you'll be okay. It needs practice, sure. and also you need to evaluate things with yourself before you evaluate it with anybody who's like mentoring you or supporting you. Because it becomes like, okay, I'll do it because of her, or I'll do it because of him. No, you need to do it because of you. And that brings us back also to the example that you mentioned about tribes, and also about my grandfather. The debate is missing, unfortunately, in our I cannot call it culture, but in our day-to-day activities, if you like. The debate used to be both sides are listening to each other. But unfortunately, if you put now screens in front of you and you see that some TV stations are hosting people that are supposedly debating with each other, but they're shouting at each other. they're like really, you can see, even if you mute it and you look at it and you see that none of them is really reaching anywhere. They're shouting at each other most of the time. So, of course, if I'm debating with you, then there's a difference in our understanding.
Yes.
But if we are in agreement, we will sit on the same side. But if you look at the TVs, if you look at the activities happening, you will see that people are not talking with each other, they're shouting at each other. Although this used to be one of our core things that we used to be, and still we are proud to have as our, part of our culture. The debate, the listening. How can you answer if you don't listen? But
True.
if you're coming prepared for an answer, then you're not really debating. You're just coming to attack the other person in front of you.
Yeah.
So I think I'm really hoping that people will go back to the roots of our unique and amazing culture, which is also debate. And that is something that we started to add in our training.
Okay.
The debate.
Okay.
The skills of debate. Because we need the people also to debate, also networking. We used to go outside and meet people and you used to see them in the streets because you're walking. But now most of us are working in different places, not in our home countries and others. So you need to network and meet people. You need people not only for work, you need people because they're people and you're one of them. So it's something that we also started to think that this is needed in the market, and we offer it also for the young people because, as I said, the young people, and I always say that and I believe in it, they're the leaders of the future.
Absolutely.
And I believe that the future is going to be even better than now. So let's give them all the techniques, but they have to do it their way.
Yeah.
You give them the frame,
Yeah.
and they will fill their own style in it.
Yeah. I love what you said at the beginning, that it's a choice. This is something that you have to do as well, and you have to also evaluate your own biases. And I love that you guys brought the debate into that training and the example you used on TV, because when you said it, I was reflecting on, like, when I look at debates on TV or watching the news, you're right, we're different, we're on different sides, that's why we're debating here, but I'm not listening to you, it's about who can overshadow the other one with their point. And if I come, like you said, prepared for a point, then I'm not coming to really listen to you. I've already thought of a question, and I assume you're going to say this, and so on.
And look at their body language as well.
Yeah,
put it mute.
Yeah.
Next time, put it mute and look at them. The body language, my goodness, you don't need to speak the language in order to, put it mute, and you can see that people are really attacking each other. They're not talking to each other.
Yeah. I'm curious, because you said that was once upon a time a big part of our culture, or like the essence of how we used to, debate things and get things done and move forward and grow as a society. So my question, I guess, is why do you think that has been lost nowadays?
Because everybody is having a different goal. They want to grow, and they want to get money, and they want to do this and that. So they're very much focused on the what's being promoted in front of them.
What's being promoted?
Promoted in front of them, like new jobs, new money, growth, better. So people are focusing on something that they can touch, and they can show off about.
Something tangible.
Exactly, tangible. Instead of focusing on the core things, like, what's the use of me being the top person at work if my team are not happy? What's the use of me being the top person if I'm not able to communicate with my team or listen to them? So they're losing the core.
Yeah.
And I think this is something very important for both sides. And that's why one of the things that I really like about CNN, that every year we evaluate each other. So I evaluate my team evaluate themselves and me.
Mm-hmm.
So the 360
feedback, yeah.
So all of these things are very important because you should learn from them, and don't take it as, oh my God, they're negative about me. No, if they're negative and said something negative, it's because they care for you. So you take it and learn from it and try to do better. Like, I really enjoy to see. I kept all my 360s. I always try to see the progress and whether I'm doing it right or
That's
wrong.
amazing.
You do these things for your health. When you do a test and they say, for example, that your cholesterol is higher or whatever, then you do it again to see if you're better. So why do you care about your health, but you don't care about the health of your work and your community? That's also important.
That's such a great example. I think a lot of people would resonate with that, and it just makes everything so clear. I remember you said on a podcast that humanity is a collective painting, and we all have a bit of a role to play. And but based on our conversation that we're having just now on why it's lost, and I think this is happening not just here but globally, that we have become a lot more individualistic. It's not about what's good for all of us. It's about what's good for me. And I don't know, given the way the world is moving, if we'll ever be able to get back to that collective painting point. What do you think?
You know that I believe in the best is yet to come.
Yes.
And I really believe in it. But let me also just mention, before I continue to talk about this, another thing that don't forget that we used in the old days. There was no internet, there was no satellites and everything. So people were basically building their expectations and priorities based on whatever is available, and they can basically use it and access it. But now you have access to everywhere. Now, while you're sitting here, you can click and see what's happening in Nicaragua or Australia or the US or any place. So it's it depends on how you are raised as well. That's why I say that one of my blessings is how I was raised at home, the support of the family. So if your place is and your home is also settled, then you can build on a solid ground. So that's also important. We cannot really blame the young people, how they're like, the pace is so quick, and this is something we live in Dubai. You have to be really quick, but at the same time on a solid ground, because you can be quick and you will fall at the end of the day, but you need to be quick but also aware of where exactly you're stepping on, and you have to be really walking on a solid ground. And that's why I said, if you feel that you're about to fall down, stop there, evaluate, see what's missing and how you can make it better, and then continue. You can be slightly late, but at least coming healthy and ready for the next challenge. Then actually reaching your point, and then you're tired, you cannot really continue second spot.
True.
So it's like a marathon that we're living in. But it's your own choice as well. Some people, they choose to sit and okay, I will take the stable career that I go to the office in the morning and then I leave at 4. That's it. That's my job. But some people are like us journalists. You will always run from one place to another, and that's part of the success. No,
absolutely. And so I wanted to kind of transition on to the goal of journalism. Now, when I spoke to Sarah, we had a deep discussion on this point in particular. We were talking about the truth. Now, Sarah said that you have said first, if you can't be a journalist if you're not truthful. It's a package that comes with journalism and credibility. And Sarah explained that, however, in our discussion, we discovered that the truth is subjective. And she said, from her perspective, it's more about finding fact than about finding the truth. So I'd like to ask you 2 questions. First of all, what's your definition of the truth? And then the second question is, what's the difference between the truth and the facts?
The difference between them, it's who's your source? Says, not one source. Your sources.
The sources.
And is it reliable or not? What are we doing as journalists? We're news gatherers. Okay, so we gather the news. And when we gather the news, we're looking for truth, right? And the truth is based on what? Reliable source. So reliable source means truth. Now, you build your story on truth. And for me, I always say truth and human beings are on the same level, and this is our main core focus. So the facts that you're collecting will lead you to the truth. So why I said sources as well, because as you know that we always say that you have to get your information from at least 2 well-informed sources, okay? That's at least. But at the same time, if you collected information and you believe that this is the truth, you confirmed it with 2 well-informed sources, and you told the people about it, and they believed you in it, then you discovered that there was an element that was missing. It's okay to tell the people that we did not took into consideration one element that we just now heard about it. We checked it and it's truthful, and then we'll add it to it.
Yeah.
But don't forget, in the old days, when there was no internet and no satellites, journalists used to bring whatever they're able to do and then post it. And most of the countries used to have, especially in this region, state-owned television.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a message all the time, controlled, for the people to believe in it. But nowadays, whether you believe that you're reporting truthful things or anything, don't underestimate your audience. Your audience are capable of finding the truth and also contributing to what they believe is also truth. So that's where it comes to the same point that we've talked about, listening to your audience. So you cannot just say, no, I know the truth, and that's it. That's why you have to always say, I know the truth so far. I was able to get so far what I believe is truth.
Yeah.
But you have to be also open to listen to others. You know that in some stories, some people actually even received awards on a story and investigation and blah, blah, blah. And then after 6, 7, or even 10 years, they took back the awards because they discovered that it was actually based on false. There was no story.
Yeah.
So the truth is, there's no deadline for the truth. The truth will live all the time. And time will come when people will also come back to you after a while. And thanks also to the technology, Google, now when you put something online, after 10, 15 years, people will come to you. I receive sometimes people coming to me and telling me that, I appeared in a picture that you posted 12 years ago. And I believed in what I was doing, but now I don't believe in it. And I would love to, if I may, ask you to remove the photo. Of course, at the beginning, they come to you and they say, you have no right to publish my photo, which is not my decision. It's a Getty images, so it's not me. You can go to Getty, and I'm attributing to Getty. But then they change their mind. So it's up to you now if you want to do that or not, because people, they change. They change their positions.
Sure.
Sometimes facts might appear after a while. And you hear sometimes people, they put in prison for 30 years and then they discover that they're innocent. So that's why you don't just look for something that you believe that this is truth, and this is the facts that you build accordingly, that it's truthful fact, and you post it and put it on and told the audience, and you sleep on it. Time will come when somebody will come to you that will come either to challenge you or to add another element to your story. So you have to be prepared. So there's nothing called I knew the truth. I am the one who's truthful. This is a process that we have to learn, and also depends from which angle you're looking at it.
And that's the next point I wanted to come on to, because as, given my conversation with Sarah, what we discovered is depending on where you're getting your news also is going to affect what the story is. So for example, this is, I guess, where my frustration kind of comes in when it comes to the news, to be honest. It's a personal thing. Two things that frustrate me the most. Number one, I believe there's a strong negativity bias when it comes to the news. I'm 33 years old. In the last 33 years, turned on the TV, looked at the news, and there was like, oh, this is Khalid baking a cake, life is great. It's always something is just negative. Now, I know we are prone as human beings to focus on the negative more than the positive. And it's more jarring, and it will catch your attention more and so on. And maybe there's more clicks or more impressions. But there's a lot of goods in the world too. And I want to start with this point, that why is it always so negative? This is my personal question that I'm like, I just have never understood that.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Do you know who's in charge in what we're watching? Who's in control?
I would assume governments.
Or? Give me 3 options.
Governments, audience, and the news agencies themselves.
Okay. You went very serious here. No.
Ah, okay.
Okay, this is my own judgment, okay?
Yeah, please.
It's not like somebody taught me this.
Your perspective, yeah.
I believe that your thumb is in charge. How? When you're looking at your mobile, who's scrolling things? When you hold the remote control, who's in charge of it? So literally, your thumb is in control. And your thumb is connected with your brain. This is how I understand it, okay?
Sure.
That's not scientific, that's my own interpretation.
Yeah.
So therefore, you're blessed to have plenty of options. You don't want to listen to biased or sad or bloody news, that's your choice. Put some music.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I like to watch during the weekend if I have weekend. Like I tell my husband I want to watch a movie that doesn't really need me to think a lot. Or sometimes I don't want to see anything. I want to just listen to some music.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching TEDx, for example,
Mm-hmm.
because if you keep listening to the same thing and watching the same thing, it's not healthy as well for you.
True.
And at the same time, you cannot really, it doesn't broaden your knowledge and information, because you have to see many things in order to be able to judge whether this is truthful or not, or this is good or biased or whatever. So that's why you're blessed to have the options of choosing. So use your right. This is an authority that you have in your hand in order to choose whatever you want. So if you feel that this is biased, perfect. Go to another one. Try another one. And all of these channels that you are scrolling or watching,
Yeah.
they need you. So you're important for them. So if you tell them that you're biased and you skip them, they are the one who are losing. You're not losing. They're losing. And therefore, use your right by choosing whatever you believe that this is truthful, and try to help it to grow by watching it and encouraging others to watch.
Yeah. On that example, let me play devil's advocate for a second. I agree with.
I don't think that you can, but
I love what you said about how I love the thumb example and how it's a choice. What I'm viewing, what content I'm taking in is 100% up to me. So I can't blame someone else for whatever content they're putting out because I'm choosing to watch it. However, coming back to what we just talked about when it comes to finding the truth and delivering the truth, this is where the disconnect happens in my brain. I'm like, okay, if let's say I dropped a pen on the floor, that's the story. That's the reality of what has happened. And I can go, like I said, I have the authority. I can go to different channels and be like, oh, Khalid willingly dropped it, or Khalid, it fell off his hand. Like, I can still say what happened, but I can say it in so many different ways. And the way I present it is going to make me look at the situation in a very different way. So as the audience, this is where I feel like, not just I personally would struggle with this, is if it's up to me, I want to know, I want to like be a fly on the wall and have witnessed that's what happened, and now I know this agency is telling it the right way, this one's not. But of course, I'm never going to be able to do that. So
you can.
You believe so?
Of course you can.
How so?
Now, because every news agency, they're posting their information. Another eyewitnesses on the ground, they're posting. Look at Gaza. Who's covering it? The people of Gaza.
Yeah.
None of us are actually allowed to be on the ground. We've been really pushing the envelope. But we even filed a case in order to go. We signed petitions. None of us, as international media, are on the ground. Who's on the ground? The people. So you're seeing it through the eyes of the people who are there. Now, sometimes you attend like a disaster, or you watch a disaster or a war or whatever. Some people, they're exaggerating. Some people, they're just making fun and they're not really realistic or real.
Yeah.
And some people are telling the truth. And sometimes you don't need people to tell you the truth. Just showing you a kid who's crying and injured is a story by itself that nobody needs to explain to you what is it. And this is, and I don't think that there's anything can change this truth. Of course, now with AI, that's a different story.
True.
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
But let's assume that this is a truthful coming from Gaza or anywhere in Sudan or anywhere else. Then it's up to you to understand whether this is a truthful story or not, or whether this is not a true story. So it's up to you. But also it depends how focused you are. Some people they build their own position on something that happened 6 months ago. Maybe things have changed. Or sometimes you don't listen to the story properly, and then you say it happened. No, I heard about it. Okay, you heard about it, but did you see it?
Yeah.
An eyewitness is more important than somebody heard.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
True. That's why it's very important to choose, and also it's not important to only to depend on one source. You have now the
Thousands.
ability of seeing many people. If you want to listen to a Western perspective, regional perspective, go to the people of the people on the ground perspective as well. So don't only use the two sides. Use also the other side. Talk to people. Listen to the testimony of many people are talking. It's not something that you can say that I don't have the information anymore. You always have the information. If you are interested, you should spend more time to find the truth. So it's not only my responsibility to find the truth anymore as a journalist. It's the responsibility of everybody.
I think that point is very crucial, because I think, even speaking, just listening to you say that, I realized I'm like, oh, there was a bias that I have had when it comes to, analyzing, this issue and so on. And when it comes to reporting, I know there's a lot of, across the world, there's a lot of difficult things that have happened, and, things that we don't need to go into details about. And I know you've covered a lot of different things across your career. So I'd love to ask you, you're an optimistic person. I'm not a pessimistic person, but I don't think I'm as optimistic as you are. The question that I start to ask myself is, like, if I was in your situation, I'm like, in my situation, I already struggle with this. So I wanted to ask you, despite everything you've covered, all the difficult things that happen in the world, how do you still find the humanity in people?
If there's no humanity, I don't think that you'll find me here. It's the human beings are the best thing you can meet in your life. And even sometimes when you say, well, this person was not really a good person, you learned a lesson. So this person was good for teaching you a lesson. So look at the bright side of everything. If you, it's up to you. Sometimes it's your decision. If you want to be, if you don't believe that you have to be really optimistic about things, and you need to look deep and take it seriously, you can still do that. But you look at how this situation can help me to go to another place or another step. How this situation will help the status quo to become better.
Yeah.
So there's always bright side in everything.
Sure.
And that's why I believe that it's important to look around and look back sometimes. Like, if I look at the journalism and the knowledge that the people, the ability and the authority that the people have in order to find the information they want to listen to or to watch or to follow by choice. It's not like the government is forcing them to do. That's an achievement by itself. Look at the knowledge, look at the technology, look at AI, look at all of these things. Universities like this, it's all of these things. The technology to build a plane, to bring great professors to another continent to teach. This is all amazing achievement.
Yeah.
And that makes me happy, because I know if we were able to witness all of this, and I feel blessed that I know the tape recorder, and I know now the latest technology and AI. So I lived it all.
Yeah.
So all of these things makes me happy that if I witness this, and so far I am amazingly happy about it. Amazingly happy about it. Then I'm sure that the best is yet to come, and you will not be able to convince me otherwise.
And I won't try to. That's fair enough. And listening to you, I understand what you're talking about, or you're giving me a deeper appreciation for
the small things that we have.
Exactly.
Holding now a technology, an iPad in your hand.
Yes.
We used to have a paper and pen. How often are we using it?
Really?
We used to have a paper and pen and all the numbers written on a piece of paper, and sometimes you lose it, sometimes even the pen will disappear and something. But now everything is on your mobile. You don't need to carry. I used to travel with my camera, my tape recorder, and my notebooks and all of these things. Now I'm traveling with my mobile.
Yeah.
So all of these things are blessings.
Yeah.
So let's really count our blessings.
Yeah. And I think listening to you, what I've taken away is you can look at anything as good or bad, but it depends on the frame of reference you're looking from. So even like, I love the example you said that even if this person, let's say, wasn't the best person, they still taught you something. So that is a net positive, maybe not in that situation, but on a bigger scale, it absolutely is. So I listened to someone called, I'm sure you're familiar, Simon Sinek, and he said something recently on a podcast that really struck me. And he was talking about, he's like, I have very strong beliefs that are loosely held. And what I loved about that was, because I can speak from my experience as a person, and I think a lot of us, we get sometimes, I think, attached to our identity becomes attached to the things we believe and think. And if someone comes and presents a better scenario or disproves or breaks that belief, the smart thing to do, the smart person who wants to grow and learn would be comfortable changing that belief because, like you kind of said earlier with the truth, up until that point, that's what I believed given all the information I had. But to continue on this basis with this new information doesn't really make sense. So the question I want to ask you is, why do you think a lot of times it's difficult for us to maybe own or accept that, okay, I don't believe that anymore. Maybe I was wrong in the past and this is now what I believe now?
Because we're human beings. We're human beings, so also we don't need to be harsh on ourselves. Just admitting it is a progress. So if we just like take it, okay, and take some time, I think time is also playing a vital role in our life. Like, you don't need to say, okay, fine, I was wrong, but I'm not going to admit, I'm not going to apologize about it, it's wrong, and then you turn your face and you continue. I think you need to give yourself some time in order to be able to settle this matter from inside.
Yeah.
And then take a step forward. I think this is, like, for example, we are always afraid and worried about making mistakes.
True.
And I always tell people, it's okay to make mistakes. And actually, you should learn from your mistakes. And if somebody is not doing any mistakes at all, there's something wrong. Even robots, you teach them to do everything perfect, but they still do mistakes. So we're not robots, thank God. We're humans and we have feelings. But at the same time, we should not be too harsh on ourselves. We should, if we give time, then we can actually evaluate, settle things, and then continue. If you bring a water that is muddy and you're in the desert and you have to drink it, and if you're in a rush and you don't give it time, you won't be able to accept drinking it. But if you have to drink it, then you need to leave it until it's settled, and then you drink it. True. So always think about how you treat your body, treat others as well. So this is an environment that I don't own it. I live next to you. I live next to my husband, my family, my colleagues, and so on. So I'm sharing. So I'm sharing a space.
Yeah.
I'm not owning the space.
No. And I think listening to you, what I take from that is in life, you need to have it's a combination of patience with pace. You kind of need to move fast, but at the same time, take some time, like you said, to pause, reflect, and ask yourself some difficult questions that, is this something, for example, I still believe in? Is this something I still want to work towards? And I think that's something that's a bit lacking, not just maybe just for myself, but I think for all of us in general.
Absolutely, no. It's not something that you can take a pill and you'll become like this.
Yeah, it's a process.
Or just like you see, it's a process, and
Absolutely.
you have to accept the process yourself before you start doing it. So it's not something that somebody will tell you, okay, I'll teach you how to do it, and you do it. No, if you don't believe in it, you cannot do it. So this is another thing as well, that you have to believe yourself that you want to do it, and then you will do it even better than your teacher or your mentor.
Absolutely. I know from my research that there's two things that are never allowed to be said around you. Number one, this is a problem, and number two, that this is impossible. So, and because
I'm sure that Sarah told you the same thing as well. I told everybody in my office, nobody can mention these things to me. Yeah.
I love that, and I love the message that you're trying to get behind it. If you look at something, for example, as a challenge is something that you can try to overcome. You at least give it a shot. But more often than not, I think we are hesitant to take that leap or to take that step. So, but not many people look at those two things the way you do. So I'd love to know, did this come from your upbringing with like your family, or was it through your career you learned these lessons, or these are things that you took on given your experiences? Where does those strong beliefs come from?
You're very smart in actually pointing that how I was raised. When I was the first kid to my parents, but I was also the first female to given the freedom to do all of the things that I've done within my family. Even like my aunts didn't have the same rights. I used to come in the middle of the night carrying my newspaper with me because I cannot leave without holding my article in my hand, while my aunts are already sleeping, and they're my aunts, and we were living in one big family house. So this is something that when you are given this right, if you like, and you need to be careful how to respect these kind of things. So because you don't abuse it. So that was one. The other thing also, being the first one to graduate also from the university as a female journalist as well, given the opportunities that God blessed me with to cover the Arab-Israeli peace process and other opportunities and all that stuff. All of these things are not easy to do for a woman at that time. So you need to be you have to be confident. You have to know where exactly you're stepping. And that is something that, yes, you can lean on some people and ask them some questions, but you have to ask yourself as well all these questions as well. So that actually helped me to believe there's nothing called impossible.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
Now, I cannot carry a car, but I can push a car.
Sure.
Okay, and even carrying a car is not really my job.
Sure.
So also you have to be realistic.
Yeah.
What are you challenging yourself with? So
Yeah.
are you challenging yourself with something it's impossible to be done? But we're talking about our daily life, our daily challenges that we're facing. There's nothing called challenge. There's nothing called a problem. It's a challenge. You consider it, but you're able to move it to another place. You can push it a bit. You can ask for somebody else to help you to push it.
Sure.
So it's not also meeting the challenges and moving forward with it. It cannot be all the time you. And as I said, I'm sharing the space with you.
Yeah.
So that's another technique that you have to also to know how to hold hands with others to be able to become stronger so that you can move something that you consider it as a challenge.
Yeah.
So that is something that I personally believe in, and I've been doing this for so many years, and if the minute I feel that this is a real problem, then I need to dig deep and find a solution for it, because there's always a solution as long as you're using my brain.
Yeah.
So, easy formula.
I think a lot of us need to use our brain a little bit more. I think that's where we struggle sometimes.
But that's fine.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
all
yeah.
struggle. It's not like I've been flying all the time. I went down many times. I've been slapped, with facts and realities and life many times.
Yeah.
That's human beings.
Yeah.
But if you're slapped and you're down, you keep looking down, you will never look up. You'll never go up.
Yeah.
So take your time. Don't push yourself too much, because you're human beings. And then after that, help yourself to stand up. If you cannot stand up, ask for somebody else to help. That's okay.
Yeah. I think operating from that mindset just opens you up to endless possibilities. If this doesn't work, try something else and so on. And I think it's a much healthier way to grow as a person and to move forward. And like you correctly said, sometimes we do need help. No one got here or to the level they are alone.
And you have technology now. You can search and you can find some information. You collected many quotes that I said in many interviews that I did. It's accessible.
Yeah.
So let's make use of the valuable tools that we have in our hands and build ourselves. It's fine.
Yeah. And I think one thing that you said there that I really appreciated was respecting your gift. And I think you come from the mindset of the belief that we all have a certain gift. And now I'm gonna say this word, but I'm saying it for a question. I know you hate the word empowerment. I know you do. And I'm sorry for bringing it up.
But put it between inverted commas. Yeah.
Because I've heard you talk on a podcast that and kind of talks about the respecting your gift, that we all have the power within us. It's not about having power, empowering. It's about enabling. Now, I'm curious, when did that shift for you from looking at it from empowerment to enablement come from? Was it an experience? Did something happen? Or was it just over the course of your life you've recognized that it's not about the power, it's about giving you the platform to use your power effectively?
It starts with the family as well. I'm grateful to my family, and also to the family who are also my network, my friends, my team, and so on, my colleagues as well. So it's something how basically you believe in what do you have inside you, and where you would like to reach, and having a clear path that you can actually reach. So the power is in knowing all of this. So that is the power that you have, and nobody can put it. Okay, I can tell you, you can walk from here to there, but I don't give you all the details. But you need to think about it, look at exactly where it is. Am I equipped? Am I trained? Do I need water with me? All these questions. So all of this, you have it inside you. So that's why when I'm training a young people or a woman, these are my main focus on, I know that they're powerful. They have the power inside. But the only thing is I enable them. I train them to dig deep within themselves and take the power out and take their decision to move forward. I cannot take that decision on their behalf.
True.
So it's like a race. I cannot push you. You have to take the first step.
Yeah.
I can encourage you. I can enable you. I can train you how to do it. I can equip you with the best things that you can do in order to survive till the end of the race. But I cannot do it for you.
Yeah.
So if you have the power, and those who do not have the power, you see that they don't even come to you asking to grow. So the growth, when somebody wants to grow, because he feels that he has the power and the ability to do it, but he seeks some support and assistance. My role is to support them, to enable them, to empower them, but empower them in knowing that they have power. That's why I hate to use the term empowerment.
I get it.
Because they are powerful from inside. They have the power. Every one of us, God gave us a power inside.
Yeah.
But we have the energy to walk, but we don't have the power to take decisions or to grow. Of course we do. So how can you do that? By seeking assistance sometimes.
Yeah.
And that is by itself a powerful decision.
Yeah.
Because when you decide that I am coming to X or Y or Z to train me or to equip me or to teach me something, that is a decision that you took it because you took a powerful decision to support yourself by coming to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's by itself is important. So even for students when they go to school, yes, your parents might send you to school, but if you don't want to listen and learn, it's up to you.
Absolutely.
So it is inside us. The only thing we need is to equip them so that they can grow, and you can see and enjoy seeing how these people are flying.
Absolutely. And I think you said such a good point there about to grow or to admit that, you want to grow or so on. That in itself is a power in itself. And
Absolutely.
You have to take that forward. And it's not about telling you exactly how to get there, but it's about uncovering that, showing you that, no, you do have that inside you. But maybe, number one, you weren't aware of it, or you didn't have a direction to direct it towards and so on. So, or maybe you didn't have, like you said, the resources, the tools to get there. But I love your description of that. And I'm going to actually try to take that on, myself, because I think that really resonates, a lot with me, because the term empower is typically what I've said it many times. I've heard it many times. And I think I do agree with you listening to you that it does come down more to the enablement than necessarily the empowerment.
But also this is all because I was able to listen to a lot of really champions in my life. And that helped me a lot to learn.
Yeah.
And that's why I always encourage people that try to listen more than you talk, because this is how you learn. So it's not really what I created. You can call it that Caroline's philosophy. No, it's something that I learned it from people, great people that I met through my life, and I hope that I will continue learning.
No, and based on our conversation, I have no doubt that you will. Dr. Caroline, I just have two more questions for you.
Sure.
So, first of all, I know your grandfather said that you have to keep asking questions if you want to get the answer. There's always an answer, but you have to keep asking questions, and maybe you have to keep asking better or the right questions. So I'd love to ask you, I'm curious, what's a question that you have yet to find an answer for?
In which field? In many aspects. Well, it's a very good question. I've never actually thought about it, but I'm sure that there are lots of questions that we don't have answers. Maybe spiritual questions related to loved ones. You don't know why it happened or why it happened like this, all of these questions, but you have to accept it.
Yeah.
But definitely, being me, a person who insists to keep asking questions, I asked myself these questions, and I didn't find an answer, but that didn't close the door.
And that's such an important point. That's such an important point. I love that you ended it with that, because once you do close that door, you never have a chance of finding that answer.
And it's not gonna, it would be like
And
a dark spot in
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't like to have anything dark.
Yeah.
Within me, I always like to. The door is open. I might find an answer. You never
Exactly.
know.
Yeah. And like as we've been talking through our whole conversation, might not be now, but if we keep asking the question, we might have a chance of finding it later on.
Keep high expectations of the future,
Mm.
because the future can bring
Yeah.
lots of great answers to many questions, and also great knowledge as well.
Absolutely.
So be open to
Yeah.
learn that.
Dr. Caroline, for my last question, this is a question that we ask all our
I'm
guests.
enjoying it. You can ask more questions.
This is a question we ask all our guests. So as we were talking earlier, the message with this podcast is to showcase that success comes in many forms and that learning never stops. Now, I'm just going to bring up my own experience with my definition of success, because I haven't really had one in the past. I've been reading a lot of books over the past, a couple of years, and I still haven't found an answer. But I did find one recently, and it really resonated with me. And I think this is what my definition of success is now, because we can't control the outcomes that we're always going to be able. We all have goals, we all have dreams. Some are realistic, some are unrealistic. So we can do the best we can, but we can't always control the outcome. However, I can control the person that I want to be, the way I behave, the way I act on a daily basis. And for me, that is my definition of success now. But I'd love to hear from you. I know over the course of your career, you probably learned many, many things and experienced different types of success in different fields as well. So I'd love to hear from you, first of all, what for you is your definition of success? And if there's one thing, one learning, or one message that you'd want to pass on, to myself, and to the rest of us, what would those be?
The lesson I learned that I need to check with myself everything I've done during the day before I sleep. And I do a very due diligence with myself when it comes to my daily life. As you can imagine, that the majority of my days are pretty busy with many
I can
things.
imagine, yeah.
But at the same time, busy in a nice way,
Yeah.
because I learn, I meet new people, I meet new challenges, and so on. But at the same time, you really need to evaluate, and then if you did something that you believe that it wasn't the right thing, you should talk to yourself.
Yeah.
Because the best friend is to you is yourself.
Yeah.
So the inner me, I talk to the inner me, and I talk to myself every night. And even if I'm holding a book, immediately I will start thinking about it and put it on the side so that I can talk to myself and think about it and evaluate these things. So if it's good, you have to say, you did a fantastic job.
Mm.
If it is not good, you should say, well, Caroline, I think you can do better next time. And if it needs as well next day that you go and tell the person that you dealt with or whatever, I'm sorry, I think I did something wrong, or send an email sometimes in the middle of the night, and I do that a lot, then it's good. So I like to do I tick all the boxes of my day before I sleep, because tomorrow is going to be another day. And another day, it's a privilege to have another day. Okay, we don't take things for granted these days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a privilege to have another day, and you don't need to have it with debts. I need to start clean. So this is how I train myself. I used to be busy. I wasn't like this all my life, okay? So it's not like I'm trying to tell you something else. No. I went through lots of things that I don't have even time to meet people or to talk to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Busy, and then I reach home after midnight, and then I sleep, and then up early in the morning because I'm traveling, whatever. So I don't have time with myself. That was, at that time, I thought it was okay. But when I start growing, and as I told you, I don't grow in age, it's only here. When I start growing and learning from the people I'm meeting, I started to realize that my first relationship should be with me. Then I can I can actually expand it. And it's the same thing that I do with my husband, for example. He knows if I come home and I don't want to talk because I'm thinking about something or I'm not happy about something, he can read that in my eyes, and he will respect my time and my privacy. But he's a amazing listener to me when I want to talk.
Mm-hmm.
This is also a power that I have, that I can open up and talk. Choosing the right person to talk to is also a power. Everything you do, you think it's for granted, but it's not for granted. It takes a courage and power to admit to somebody, or to open up to somebody, or even be yourself, or to cry. And it's okay to cry, men or women. So all of this, as I said, I tick all the boxes before I sleep, and I like to start clean.
If the mics weren't here, I would be screaming of how much I resonate with your approach. Over the past, year myself, I've been really going deep into trying to figure out, part of my life's mission now is to trying to just figure out who I am. And I don't think...
that reflects that you are very powerful from inside.
I'm trying to.
No, but okay, it's good to be modest, yes. But
Sure.
but doesn't need a modesty. For a person like me who knows, I claim that I can read people.
Yeah.
I can tell you that this is very important, that you took a decision, you took your time.
Yeah.
And that this is something that it's not like a math or
Yeah.
a formula. 1 + 1 = 2. No.
Yeah.
You need to have your time with everything. You give time to work. You give time to take transportation, or to take your time with yourself.
Yeah.
And that is the only one, because yourself is the only best friend first. Then you can open up to others. It's the first.
Absolutely.
I'll take only. It's only the first.
Yeah. I really resonate with that message. Every night when I go to sleep, all I want to do is, when I put my head down with the pillow, I reflect. I'm like, did I do at least the things that I wanted to do for myself today? If I've done that, everything else is a bonus. So I really, really resonate with that message, and your message that we need to learn to develop a good, strong, loving relationships with ourselves first, because if we can't, when we don't love ourselves, we will struggle to give that not only to the people we love the most, but to the people, on a bigger scale as well. Dr. Caroline, I want to say thank you so much for this conversation. This has really been a deep one these are the conversations that I live for personally. You've really opened my mind and showed me a lot of biases that I have when it comes to the news, things I didn't know about journalism. And I think you've conveyed your message in a very beautiful way also to young journalists who are coming up in the field on the things that are important, to take into consideration when it comes to reporting the truth and the fact, and having a true passion for the job. And thank you so much for all the work you've done over these past 30 years. I can imagine it has not been easy.
But that's the beauty of it.
I know. But it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
But seriously, thank you. I really admire your hard work, the research that you've done. This is amazing work that you've done. So and also the questions that you've asked. It reflects also who you are. So thank you very much for giving me the chance to meet you, and also to give me the chance as well to answer some of your questions. And I hope that the questions and the answers will be also useful for many people who are listening to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Caroline.
Thank you.
You.